Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. We are here for round number 5, the halfway point of Tier 2, and we arrive at Sao Paulo and the Interlagos circuit, one of my favourite circuits to drive, favourite circuits to watch. Generally, it's a fan favourite and normally produces some fantastic racing. So we are at the halfway point for Tier 2, so this is going to set the scene before the week's break next week. And, well, there's only one way to find out what will happen. My name is JPH, and joining me alongside, as always in the Tier 2 commentary box, is ARL. Good evening, ARL. How are you?
Hello, Jordan, and welcome along to the Interlagos circuit. And I'm all good. Looking forward to the action here tonight. We got plenty of it last night, and can't wait for some more.
Absolutely, and see, it looks nice and dry for now. I'm just going to mess a little bit with the audio mix, pretty make sure that's back correct. Good evening, Spud. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a nice holiday as well. We have 20 drivers in for tonight, which is fantastic to see. Trying to see who... It says who is in the other... Oh, it's the Cat is in for Sir Spud as a reserve. Otherwise, everyone else in Tier 2 here tonight, which is amazing to see and fantastic to see that even at the halfway point, everyone still joining these races.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, as we approach this halfway point, this is when we really get to see who's in the fight for these championship points. But, there's only 10 races on the grid this season, but, you having those sprint race weekends, every point matters here, and just a few points every race can move you up important positions. So, great to see that we have a full grid once again.
Yeah, and it must be stated, I don't know if he's coming out of the pits yet. Yes, he is. The man on screen, Julian Manu, unfortunately, this is his last race for the season. He's got an opportunity in his life, I believe, to move to New Zealand for a new job, and he is quite rightly going to take it, but unfortunately that does mean that the championship leader will be ending his run tonight here at Brazil, so he'll be hoping for a bit of a high note to finish on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, but congrats to him, and all the best in the future. But John, we've got our first car beginning to start a lap, and that's Matty Rudd.
Yeah, I think on the base of tonight, we'll ride on board with Julian Manu for a lap, since it's his last night. So, ARI, would you want to take it away for a lap of Interlagos?
With pleasure. So, of course, Julian Manu starts to open up that DRS, head to the line. Of course, this is somewhat classified as a corner, but pretty much taking that full speed into your braking point. Decide this nice and early, but you need to somewhat prioritise the first corner because it therefore launches you through the centre S's. But try and stay as tight as you can to the inside and then open up DRS wide open as you approach into turn 4. Popular move to overtake. Try and somewhat takes a little bit of curb on the inside, unsettles the car a little bit, but it won't hurt him too much on this first banker lap here. Up the hill you climb. How much trust do you have in that rear end? Then you've got to brake and somewhat cut as much of the corner and the curb as you can. Then downhill switches to an uphill. It's like a roller coaster, this track. It's up, it's right, it's left, it's down. Then try and get as much on the power as Julian Manu can, as he therefore deploys a bit of battery as Matty Rudd sets the first lap time of a 1:09.4. Now through Junsao, important corner this will really be critical to get a good exit and somewhat slingshot you round to the finish line. DRS wide open, cut as much as you can at the pit lane, and he'll finish his first time lap as a 1:08.5 for Julian Manu.
So provisional pole, and just like we saw yesterday in Tier 1, 0.002 of a second ahead of his teammate of IRL, and then after the first set of laps, Hulkenberger third, Koch in fourth. Ira completing that top 5 for now as we see other people coming across the line. Spud saying Wolf for pole, and Paul Racetech, who I think had a pretty good race yesterday, if I remember correctly, saying good luck to the lads, and break before the pit entry as Jay Rabe sets the new benchmark of a 1:08.2. Clips Kiri just coming out of Junsao for his first flying attempt, and it looks like an okay one. Using all the battery he can up to the line, it's a 1.93, puts him in 7th place.
Yeah, no, but strong showing from Julian Manu early on, because we did see him have a little bit of a moment going onto the entry curb and the rear, just getting a little bit unsettled, so there's definitely time in that Mercedes. But once again, both Mercedes are right up there in the hunt against the Alpines of Hulkenberg and J-Ray Bay.
Here's the Wolf, who we saw win at Mexico. In fact, he's not had such a good sort of next part of it. He wasn't around for round 2, and then he just had a couple of... Monaco definitely didn't go his way either. He comes to the line, puts himself 7th on the grid. 1 second, just under a second behind J-Ray Bay for now, but as we know, these times are more than likely to come down as the drivers get used to the track and get used to what the tyres are doing around here, because it's such a big thing on this game is to making sure those tyre temperatures are good all the way through the lap.
Yeah, no, 100%, and the drivers will have control as they learn through this qualifying how the tyre temps are working on these soft tyres. They won't want to affect it too much for the race trim, whereas that will be likely the use of the mediums and the hards. But the more they go in, the more rubber gets laid onto the track, and the faster the times will get. So definitely expecting the times to go into the 107s.
Absolutely. We've got Mikey on a lap at the moment in the Ferrari. Again, I think yet to score a point is Mikey, if I remember correctly. I don't have enough screens on me to have a look at the standings with the stream at the moment. But as he just comes through to see Delago up towards Ferrajora. And yeah, up over the hill into the next right-hander towards the long left. And then you head up towards Bico to Pato.
You can see the front end just not too happy on that Ferrari, not biting as much, locking up early there, but yeah, no, he'll want to just get this lap on the board, know where the grip is, and hopefully push. But he has saved a lot of battery. Ooh, as he takes too much of the grass on exit out of Junsao, that unsettles him off. He's keeping it going the right way, but that's going to really hurt, because now he would provisionally start his next lap, and that will ride with him all the way down into turn 1. But he does start his first time lap now, I believe, as he's got the battery recharged, and through the centre S as he goes. Much cleaner, taking a lot of margin, Mikey, keeping it safe, but he needs to get a lap on the board, so I'm not surprised by that. But as I see, doesn't look like he's using any ERS, so is this another maybe learning lap for Mikey potentially?
I think Mikey does tend to enjoy having sort of his banker on a non-ERS lap just to sort of get used to everything. And then Stephen suddenly in the wall after on the fast left after Junsao. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but all of a sudden it's almost like he lost his steering and just ploughed off into the wall. Lucky not to take the front wheel off, but into the pits he comes. Madman's just gone up to 11th place. That's good news for the Haas team. Meanwhile, Hulkenberger is 0.17 up on his current lap through Sector 1 as he comes through to Cida de Lago.
Yeah, so clearly now I believe that's a new set of softs on the Alpine, but he's going to try and pull more and more time as he goes throughout the lap. We'll see what the sector time shows us. But traction seems well planned on that Alpine. Brake in, front end, just a little bit sliding through there. And then he'll deploy all the ERS he can, but he has to save some on the exit of Junsao. Brake as late as you can without losing too much on exit, and he does set a purple sector 2, does Hulkenberger. Now it's a drag race to the line. DRS gets enabled, cut as much as you can of the pit lane somewhat. And where does that put him? That puts him on provisional pole, a 107.994. And that has put Alpine so far in a 1-2 position here.
Juliana Manu is currently up after Sector 1, but obviously that's Sector 2. Probably, I think, the longest sector in terms of time here. Sector 2 as he comes through Magulio, and he's just a little bit quicker at the moment, but not by a lot and not by enough to try and disturb the Alpines.
Yeah, no, bear in mind, he does have a Ferrari in front of him, though, as well, so maybe he's been carrying that in Sector 2, we don't know, but Mikey comes into the pit, Where can Joe the Anime put his lap time? It's going to be a little bit faster by a tenth and a half. So he's found something in Sector 3 there. But it's not enough to dethrone the two Alpines so far.
Coke just coming up to Magulio now after Bico to Pato down towards Jinsao. And he's 0.153. He's lost a bit of time in Sector 2. He was quarter of a second up after Sector 1, so not quite as good a Sector 2 as he would have liked, but still up. But he's going to have to take a lot of time here through this fight, and he actually comes into the pits. Doesn't like that lap. And he tests out the pit lane limiter line as the Wolf comes to the start-finish line, and it's a 1:08.6 to put himself up into 5th.
On board now, I think next man to cross the line is Ira. He's starting a lap, but Clips Kiri, he's 3/10 up provisionally. We'll see where that puts him up. It should put him up to P7. No, it doesn't. Does it to P6. So, good lap from the V-Carb driver.
And I'll tell you what, someone who's just benefited there from Clips Kiri is Matty Rudd. He just got a very nice toe at the start of this current lap that he's on. So expect this first sector to be quite nice. Yeah, 0.14 up after just what is effectively three corners of the lap.
Yeah, no, 100%. Although you have corners like 15 and 16, they're basically taking at full speed. The run out of John Sowers, I think we have a stake. Is that Stephen has gone round or just letting drivers through? The run out, John Sowers, so critical. It follows you up, but we'll see what he can do in the second sector here. He's got a few cars ahead of him, so hopefully they get out of the way as the stake moves to the outside. As Matty Rudd comes through the final breaking point
up.
Of the
so
lap.
this is looking like a good lap here from Matty Rudd. If he can just take a little bit more time out of this last sector, he will go up a couple of places here, I think.
He could jump up to 7th place with this lap. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is. Into P7, Matty Rudd goes 1:08.931 as Berra follows behind in P8 for the stake.
Yeah, Berra just saying his first lap there of the session, or at least the first valid lap. Anthony Hunt is just over a quarter of a second up through Sector 1 at the moment with his McLaren. And the nice thing actually at the moment with the game is you can choose which McLaren livery you want to drive in. And Anthony Hunt choosing the chrome livery. I don't know what Ira's in. Ira's in the normal one. So you've got a normal looking McLaren and a chrome McLaren.
It's lovely to see that reminiscence of the 2012 McLaren in the chrome livery.
Well, that's what they ran this year, wasn't it, at Silverstone?
Yeah, no, indeed, but beautiful livery.
Meanwhile,
But,
can Anthony Hunt shine with this lap with his chrome all over the car? That's the bigger question. Up to the line he comes. Doesn't stay quite as left as liked, and he doesn't go any faster. So, not an ideal second half of the lap for Anthony Hunt.
yeah, no, he was a 10th and a half up according to the game through Sector 2, so clearly that final sector causing a bit of issues for the McLaren driver, but 5 minutes on the board, so plenty of time to still come in and set a softs, brand new set of softs on and go for your final runs.
Coke goes for a massive slide into the hairpin right just before the Paratalta. Got away with it though. I think he's on an in lap. Good evening to Roddo. And also Juliana Manu, who is in the chat as well. Interestingly, got his phone in the cockpit in the pit lane, so good job by him to keep up to date with the stream. Madman, I think, is on a lap at the moment as he comes down 3,000ths quicker than his best lap so far through Sector 1. And he invalidates through Desida de Lab.
Yeah, it's a very easy thing to do on this game, but yeah, just a bit too much over the white line. But I think we are at the stage of qualifying where everyone's coming to the pits now, and it's just about prepping for that final run, as I think Mikey is the first driver to actually bolt early here. Or no, I believe he is on a lap.
He
Mikey?
was.
No, he was. He's invalidated that though. So yeah, I think we're about to see everyone into the pits very, very shortly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as everyone. I can see a couple of cars coming out. There's Trist Games I feel like as well Clips Kiri, yeah, both the RBs are out early looking for that little bit of clear air, but the problem here is with the lap being so short, sometimes bolting early doesn't necessarily give you a nice clear track, as we saw at Monaco last week.
Yeah, no, you do risk having a whole train of cars, especially towards the end when everyone wants the bolt at the latest point in the session. But both V-Carbs fairly close, so maybe some tactical games going on, giving the other driver a tow potentially out of Junsao all the way up to turn 1. We've seen it work in the past, and it is very crucial to have that extra bit of slipstream. But nevertheless, it looks like Triss Games is going to be the first of the final runners. Oh, as he touches the grass. You don't want to be doing that too often, but he's kept it out of the wall. He'll open the DRS and use the battery deployment, so I think we will see a lap from Triss Games here as he begins now. So, into the centre S as we go. Get the rotation, nice, but quite a bit of hesitation from Triss on the power as he deploys the battery, and the DRS detection point opens and he closes the DRS. Oh, and now he opens it, so I think this might be just a bit of a not a testing lap, but maybe he's got enough fuel on board to go for another one, but he's definitely not taking it at full speed somewhat. But the important thing is Clips Cleary is coming onto the back of his teammate quite rapidly here, so surely we'll see Triss get out of the way if Clips Cleary is on the rear of this.
Yeah, Madman just went up to 13th with a 109.4, so Madman improving on that time. Triss coming through Bico to Pato into Magurio, and I tell you what, Clips might have just got this timed right for a bit of a run up towards the start finish line, because he's going to have a nice little bit of slipstream as they open up the DRS as well. So Triss Games coming to the line, opens the DRS. Clips is going to have a really nice tow here. I don't think he went any quicker actually, Clips. He hasn't moved on the leaderboard.
Yeah, just a fraction quicker, so that's not worked out too well for the V-Cab. Yeah, they've got time. If they've got fuel in the car, they've got time to go for one more run. Yeah, no, all the drivers are coming out. I think the closest man to set a lap time currently is the McLaren of Ira. He's coming through Juntao. He's 2/10 up, is Ira, so he can really challenge to get into this top 5. Deploys all the battery he's got left. The DRS flap opens. Reduce that drag. What can he bring it? As I believe that's Coke that goes to P5. What can Ira do? Ira stays in P7, so not enough of an improvement for the McLaren driver.
And whilst you were doing that, I just watched Jack have a bit of a half spin into the centre S. So his lap ruined, but I think he has just about enough time here to be able to get back around and go again, provided he can make sure he's got enough fuel in the car. So Jack possibly a little bit lucky with his timings there, as we see the likes of Jerry Bay has invalidated his latest attempt. Hulkenberger just coming through Decido de Lago. Both the is that Julian and Manu on the Julian and Manu coming through Magulio. He's going to be one of the last of the runners. And this is where it gets confusing. Oh, hello. Coke's practically stopped on circuit along with Ayers to make sure he lets others pass. And Ayers picked up a 5-place grid penalty for a small tap against Coke. And that's a little bit harsh from the game, in my opinion, but nothing we can really do about that one.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But Hulkenberger, I believe this is his current lap. That all he's got. He's a bit down so far, so maybe nothing to improve for him. But J-Ray Bay comes into the pit, so he doesn't have the fuel. So both Alpines should be done here. And he's just a bit down on his previous lap. And J-Ray Bay is also finished. So all eyes on the Mercedes duo. As so far, I run the first one of the Mercedes pairing to finish the lap. Coming into the final sector shortly. What will that sector time show us here? He's a 10th and a half over 10th and a half up on this run. So could he potentially dethrone his teammate here? We'll have to wait and see what Joey Anamanu's got, but Iron looking strong on this lap. Where will that put him? The shortest line he'll take to the line, and it will put him up to P3, so he puts his teammate down. But Joey Anamanu is 3.5 tenths nearly up on this lap. So could that even put him into P2 for Julian Amanu?
Up to the line he comes, and the championship leader stays to the left. What can he do? It's a 108.0, just over the 108 marker, but second on the grid. He splits the Alpines. So we have a checkerboard at the front right now. What can Wolf do?
He's a 10th up so far. Oh, he's lost some time through that final portion.
Yeah, but 0.003 away from Coke in that top 5. Berra comes into the pits. He doesn't like that current lap. And that is the end of qualifying, and it is going to be Hulkenberger who takes pole position from Julian Amanu. J-Ray Bay and Iron. It is a checkerboard at the front of Alpine and Mercedes. The two constructors currently going for the title, which is going to make things very, very interesting. Person to note, Jack TM53 Synopsis down in 13th. A little bit of a sort of a shock for him in qualifying. You sort of expect him nearer the top, sort of the top 5 area, especially around this circuit. I know he quite enjoys Interlagos, so he'll be one to watch in the race as well. Also, Ira is going to have that 5-place penalty, which is not going to be ideal for the McLaren man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel that's a bit hard done for Ira there, because what we did see was the Red Bull getting out of the way, and so was the McLaren. But regardless, he will have to take that 5-place grid penalty.
So the grid order then for Brazil: Hulkenberger, Julian Amanu on row 1, row 2, J-Ray Bay, Iron, row 3 is Coke and the Wolf, row 4 Berra, and it'll be Matty Rudd, then Daryl and O'Steven, Clips Kiri and Jack, Ira, and then Anthony Hunt on row 7, Madman, Line Greasby, row 8, and then other people behind him. Unfortunately, we don't get to control how long we get to tell you the grid order, because as soon as someone presses advance, it starts the timer.
Crucially though, for this race, we see the race will be starting under dry conditions, but a track like Interlagos, you never have to forget about the weather here, because it can change so rapidly from 1 minute to the other. So who knows, there could be some rain on the way. It does look a little bit cloudy, similar to qualifying, but I'm sure the drivers will have the information required, and we'll see what we don't have. I don't think we can have Spud this time as our weather forecast man tonight.
No,
but,
I suspect the weather where he is very, very nice right now.
Yeah, so I don't think it's all too bad for Spud.
No.
But no, hopefully we can get a comment letting us know what the weather forecast is for the race.
Roddo said he understands it's a dry race, so obviously I think he's in contact with the likes of Matty, Rudd, Jack and Mikey, so looks like a dry race.
So this is really going to get spicy then between those. You somewhat have an Alpine Mercedes, so strategy is going to play really key here, of course. Could we potentially see, we saw it last night with Bjorn trying that one stopper. Are we going to see split strategies from both pairings? Because that can really put another one into a different and tough position. Because we know it's very tight on this game between the one stopper and two stopper. It's just whether it works for you.
Yeah, it's whether you can sort of keep the pace up as the tyres wear. That's the biggest key, and keeping the car in check. But in terms of tyres, let's have a look. We do have a little bit of split, but only the Alpines are split strategied at the moment. J-Ray Bay, O'Steven, Jack, Anthony Hunt, Madman, Lina Greasby, Trist, JMB, and It's the Cat. All on hard compound tyres, the rest of the grid on mediums. So it's actually a pretty even split of 11-9 in favour of the medium tyre to start this race.
What that does mean for Alpine though, maybe by having that split strategy, it does mean that if they were to keep this order going through the race, it does allow them to, effectively not have to double stack and potentially lose time, or one has to pit a lap later and lose from an undercut from the Mercedes pairing. So going on that split strategy allows them to somewhat, have more freedom on what they want to do. But it will be trying to keep the likes of Iron, Coke, the Wolf, and Berra, who are all on the medium tyres, a bit more difficult as they start to warm up through the beginning of this race.
Absolutely, and so Rodo's just pointed out as well, which I did notice. Daryl is in 9th place, which is a good effort from Daryl, considering he hasn't really been on the pace this season. He's obviously found some around Interlagos. Either that or he's made less mistakes. I mean, he hasn't found a wall yet, so he's got 36 laps to find that one.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he'd rather not look for the wall on the track like this, because compared to Monaco last week, I think it'd be impossible unless you're blindfolded, honestly speaking. But yeah, no, he's got 36 laps to do, so hopefully he's done well in quali to get that car to where he wants. But yeah, we'll have 36 laps of Interlagos to come very shortly as we grid up for the start.
Absolutely. Jack doesn't quite get the parking right, as we have 150-ish kilometres awaiting us here for what is the Brazilian or the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We have the 5 red lights, and we are racing here at the Sao Paulo circuits here in Interlagos. Who's got the best getaway? Hulkenberger looks to have got a good getaway, but he's on the outside. Juliano Manu looking down the inside. Can he keep it there? No, he can. Hulkenberger will keep the run going through turn 2, turn 3. Juliano Manu looking for a run out to the centre S, down towards Desida de Lago. He pulls out to the inside. Does the Mercedes? He's down the inside. Backs out of it though, not quite alongside enough to make it move, although he's got a good run coming out there out towards Ferragora. Again, Hulkenberger just has a slightly better one. Matty Rudd is in 7th at the moment. They're having a bit of battle into Ferragora. Matty Rudd up into 6th. Koch's trying to hang around the outside, but he's going to get overtaken here by Berra. Absolutely fantastic opportunistic move, and here comes Clips into, I think it's called Parrot. I'm going to have to check it, but I'm probably wrong. But Koch just about fending off the RB, or is he? No, he isn't. Clips keeps it around the outside, down the inside of Pico to Pato. Still side by side between the sister teams. Through Maguli, you don't normally see side by side through here. Up towards Junsao. No one is backing out of this battle here for 8th place. And Koch's still trying to get that run, but I think Clips is going to finish this one off as he gets on the power earlier on the exit of Junsao. Daryl now looking all over the back of Koch, but decides probably to not use too much ERS. As Koch again looking to the outside into the centre S, and I think he's going to claim that one. Yes, he is. That's a fantastic move from the Red Bull. Oh, we got contact between Matty Rudd and Berra, and it's going to cause a bit of a hold up through the centre S. Looks like everyone's got away without damage. Not quite sure what happened there between the Williams and the Sauber, but something happened, and Koch is benefited from that. He's going to move up into 6th. Or is he? Matty Rudd still holding around the outside up towards Ferragora. This is not a place you want to go side by side, but Matty Rudd does think better of it on this occasion. And we got side by side between Berra and Dow, but again, Dow thinking better of that one. Clips is down to 11th after that little bit of hold up. And I think finally I can hand it back to ARL and have a bit of a rest.
Yeah, no, it was looking quite clean from all the drivers, but going down to turn 4 there, Clips, Cleary, O'Stephen and Ira had a moment, and that's why you see Ira down in P20. But so far, no damage really seen anywhere on the grid, so expect no early stops. But this is crucial for the Mercedes. Iron has gotten ahead on those medium tyres as Julian Emmanuel takes the lead into turn 1 and gets ahead of the Alpine driver. So this is somewhat of a dream start for the Mercedes pairing, but look at the run that Hulkenberg is going to get. He gets the dosage of DRS, but he's had to use a lot of deployment to try and stay ahead, but it's just not enough. And look who this brings right on the back. It's Iron. So Mercedes at this point in time are in a very strong place against the Alpines, but don't forget J-Robe on those hards, so he'll be falling back a little bit, but no.
Madman and Liner Greasby have a little bit of contact coming through to Cedar Delago, but they get away with it, and Madman keeps 14th for now. We did say at the start, Interlagos, it provides fantastic racing action. There's always something going on, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be one of those races, Aero, where it's going to be hard to keep on top of everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have battles everywhere. The DRS as well, extremely powerful out the exit, so definitely expect some moves to come in. I think the closest one here is for Koch. He's looking closely on the back of Matty Rudd. He's got the DRS. He's now going to deploy some energy to try and make that move earlier, and he will get ahead as the Wolf gets through on J-Ray Bay. Coke gets ahead of Matty Rudd. A little bit of wheel banging there on the rear of the Red Bull, but is ahead. But crucially now, J-Ray Bay has dropped to P4, so it's taking a while for the hard tyres to warm up on the Alpine, but they should help towards the lateral stages of this stint.
As Matty Rudd gets back down the inside of Coke, and Jolien Amanu, after just 3 and a bit laps, has now picked up 3 seconds. Oh, what on earth just happened between Coke and Berra? Coke is now sideways through Ferradura. Darrell is now up into 7th place. Berra up into 8th. Oh, Stephen having a look. That looked like someone running wide, possibly Anthony Hunt, as he goes side by side with Madman for 13th place. Up towards Beaker to Pato they go, and Madman's having to almost throw it down the inside of Clips as he breaks a little bit later than he probably would have expected. Side by side through Magulio down towards Junsao. Madman, I think he's just going to about take that one. Yes, he does. So up into 13th for the Haas. But it's all happening in this mid-pack. Meanwhile, Hulkenberger closes in on Jolien Amanu, but he hasn't had enough pace yet to really sort of pester the Mercedes. As here comes Berra to the inside of Darrell. Is Darrell going to try and fight this one? Yes, he does. Holds it around the outside. You feel possibly didn't really get the room he was expecting, though. Gets a clip, and he goes round. We've got another spinner as well. I think that's Coke. So Coke and Darrell round at the centre S.
Yeah, they had to avoid the Haas of DJ Madman as so close. But yeah, no, just avoiding action, and Coke unfortunately put on the power too early, and that spun him around. As now we see JMB get through and ahead of line of Greasby. But everywhere you go, there's battling on every single corner, it seems.
Yeah, this mid-pack is very frantic right now. Jack up into 10th place right now. Clips Kiri on the back of O'Stephen by 8/10 of a second. Sort of this train now for O'Stephen, who's 1.3 behind his teammate of Berra. I say that, I wonder if there's a little bit of team play here between Berra and O'Stephen. That's good stuff between those two, as O'Stephen sneaks into the DRS window of Berra. And I think Clips just about hit the detection at the right point. Yes, he did. So we've got this little bit of a train now behind Berra, but good teamwork between the two Saubers, because now Clips Kiri 1.4 behind O'Stephen means he's dropped out of DRS to go down the Rete Aposta.
And as all that was happening, the Wolf is now on the back of the front runners, and this is also bringing J-Ray Bay now that those tyres are warmed up. So this squabble of cars here for the lead provisionally, it's all happening here in Interlagos, but no, you could just see the impression that J-Ray Bay is closing in on those hard tyres, so now they are warmed up and ready to fight, hopefully speaking. But no, Jolien Amanu's not exactly checked out this one so far. He's still well within the DRS range of Hulkenberger, so there is still a threat that could even come through here. They're only around 5/10 coming out of Junsao, so this could be a good opportunity for Hulkenberger, probably the closest one yet.
It's a good run as well. He was half second going in. He's now 0.4. Closing. The DRS opens. What can the Alpine achieve? And it's just not quick enough in a straight line.
Yeah, it's not enough, but bear in mind now, through the centre S, you have another opportunity to try and get this. So the driver behind somewhat gets a double DRS dosage here, and he gets a much better exit. You can see the Mick was sliding around there of Jolien Amanu. Hulkenberger is going to try and go and take the lead back again, and he does so into turn 4. So that's the lead back for Hulkenberger as Jolien Amanu moves down to 2nd place.
Fantastic stuff as Darrell now picked up 3 seconds worth of time penalties. It's also worth noting Jolien Amanu does have 3 seconds as well. So ideally he does want to get to the front and just walk away, but it's not quite going to happen like that right now, as he now has his teammate Iron behind. The question is, if Iron has better pace than Jolien Amanu, will the Mercedes drivers swap around to allow Iron a chance to go after Hulkenberger? That's the big question, but they got to be careful because they don't want to let the Wolf through and have a free position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can see that gap now just around 9/10. So clearly Jolien Amanu is struggling with a bit of pace compared to the Alpine, but they've got to be careful here because they've got the likes of the Wolf, but they do have a bit of a buffer at this moment in time. So could we see some tactical games coming their way? But there again, Jordan, you see how much Jolien Amanu close up to the Alpine. That DRS is incredibly strong. So that's the issue that they're facing here. as we see Clips Kiri lose out on the position to DJ Madman. DJ Madman somewhat making his way through the field here on those hard tyres, so doing well. Yeah, no, as Stephen and Beres switch position for the stake team. So some tactical strategies going on between the two.
I feel that they've seen obviously Jack and Madman get past Clips, and Jack is closing the gap on the two Saubers. So those two obviously just trying to keep Jack away from them at the moment, but I think Jack's now going to be closing in on those hard compound tyres. We did see yesterday that the mediums really only sort of lasted 8 laps at best. So we're starting to get into that sort of segment where we're expecting, if you're two stopping, this is sort of the window opening from this lap onwards.
100%, but Jordan, one thing you've got to keep in mind is we saw that train of cars in the midfield trying to get through there is going to cause havoc as someone's into the pits.
Joliana Manu into the pits. Obviously, you're already saying, obviously, Joliana Manu does have a penalty. Yes, it's 3 seconds for corner cutting. Paul Racetech saying that he should come in for an undercut, and that's exactly what he's done. Off come the mediums, on go the hards, and I think a bit of desync with my game because he got held in the pits longer than he should have been, but I think he is now already going down the pit exit. The biggest problem for Joliana Manu here is he's coming out with a load of other hard runners, and it's going to make it slightly harder as he has to now try and fight through traffic. We've got a yellow flag, that is for Mikey, who has spun at the Senna S.
Yeah, it's important now for Julian Manu. He's going to obviously have more pure pace than these drivers, but as well he will have that tyre offset. But he's just going to have to prioritise now getting through these trainer cars, because it's going to cost him dearly if he just can't find a way through. But up at the front though, it's still Hulkenberger now in the lead, and somewhat actually, I think at the detection point, has broken clear of Iron. So he is out of that 1 second, and he is Iron defenseless without the DRS. He does have the Wolf on the back. It's not enough for a move yet, but it's certainly going to put Iron under some pressure here as Julian Manu gets through on JMB. So critical moves now for Julian Manu in this stage of the race.
Yeah, and as we saw about Iron, that Mercedes between Iron and Joliana Manu, I don't know whether they got a little bit less aero on their cars, because they are bullets in a straight line. Iron took a lot of time out of Hulkenberger, enough to actually put him inside DRS for the Reta Aposta. So that's an interesting one to note, as Madman, Anthony Hunt and Lionel Griesby side by side through the Cida de Lago.
Julian Manu as well is on the back of this little fight here, but he's going to go round the outside through ahead of the Ferrari. Line of Griesby pulls out that one. He knows it's not his fight as Anthony Hunt goes somewhat wide into... goes a bit wide, cuts back on the track here. But Julian Manu, you can see how much better grip he's got. Is he going to go for the move here? He goes a lot on the curb on the grass to avoid contact, but he's going to try and hang this one around the outside, but then thinks better to hold back. He will get the DRS detection point as we see pit stops coming from Hulkenberger and Iron.
Yeah, I think these purely to try and counter that of Joliana Manu. Matty Rudd comes into the pits. The question is, where does this man Joliana Manu come in, or say filter in, as others leave the pits? And I think he is well in the lead here, and by some margin the undercut has worked an absolute treat for that Mercedes. Look at that gap he's got. And he's also now got 3 cars between himself and Hulkenberger, and Hulkenberger's got to get through that traffic, whilst Joliana Manu has Madman up the road by 1.5 seconds. And I was completely wrong as well with this, but I know it's Pinarino, not Peralta. I'm thinking of Mexico Peralta. So completely wrong. The question is, when does the Wolf come into the pits? Obviously J-Ray Bay's ahead of him. Will the Wolf come in on this lap as Matty Rudd picks up 3 seconds worth of time penalties? The Wolf does not. So the question is, how long will the Wolf go on that set of tyres, and is he going to try a one-stop?
That's the thing, he is in DRS range, so he's somewhat going to use that as an advantage to try and be dragged by the Alpine through here as Julian Amanu gets through ahead of DJ Madman. But you could see that's important for the front runners to see how powerful that undercut is if they are two stopping, which they're likely to do since they boxed so early in this race. But J-Ray Bay, he's pulling the gap from the Wolf. But this is the thing now, the undercut is extremely powerful. If J-Ray Bay is on the two-stopper, he's going to be put quite far behind despite starting on the hards.
Meanwhile, Jack trying to get past O'Stephen, couldn't quite do it into the seated lagger. I've just noticed as well, Jack has a bit of front wing damage. The front right end plate is gone from that Williams, so he's having to battle a little bit of damage whilst he tries to get up through this field. He does have Jolian and Manu just behind. I think this is showing just like that much better grid position, but also the fresh tyres. The fact that Jolian and Manu is effectively a pit stop ahead of Jack and O'Stephen.
Yeah, no, I suppose they're not going to hold him up too much. It's simply just not his fight today. But the problem is they're in their own little scrap here, so neither of them want to back out. As you can see, the drive that Julian and Manu has got. Allergen Showers, O'Stephen comes into the pits.
That's early for hard tyres, surely.
Yeah, that's fairly early. We've seen the hards yesterday. They were all right, but no, the tie day is fairly high around here, so unless he's going for two sets of hards potentially, Jordan, and a set of mediums.
But even then, if you're only doing 12 laps, you've got to do 12 laps on a medium set as well.
Yeah, no, that's fairly early, so maybe just under pressure, but wanting to get that stop out of the way. But Julian and Manu, he's obviously cleared Jack, so now he is somewhat the net leader of this race as he has made his pit stop. And this is important to see how quickly these times fall between himself and the Wolf. But the Wolf has lost DRS, so I won't be surprised. Surely 12 lap old mediums, he comes into pits this lap.
It certainly wouldn't be a surprise. And no, he stays out. I think the Wolf is looking to make this a one-stop race, and he is extending this as much as he can. I think for realistically for a one-stop, you kind of want to take these sort of 16-ish laps, so not quite half distance but near half distance for sure. As Iron gets past Madman, fairly easy DRS move along with Hulkenberger, as they are now 1.8 behind Jack, but crucially here for Jolian and Manu, he's over 3 seconds ahead of Hulkenberger. He's actually over 4 seconds ahead of the Alpines, so that 3-second penalty right now being taken care of.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's the result of pitting in much earlier. A yellow flag comes around. I think that's just Trist getting out of the way. But no, in the position of in the position of the Wolf, I should say, sorry, he's in clear air here, so he can try and make this one-stop work. Like I said, if you're going to try the one-stop, you need to be in clear air and just run your own race and not get into any fights. And so far, the Wolf has every opportunity to try that, so fair on him to try something different to the others.
It is worth noting that Brothers also just pointed out O'Stephen back on another set of hard tyres, so he's definitely two-stopping here, but he's going to have to take that set of hard tyres longer than he did the first set. That is an absolute must for the Sauber as Hulkenberger gets past Jack again. This isn't really Jack's fight as Iron goes past as well. It's not Jack's fight. He knows he's not in that fight tonight, so just lose as little time as possible. As I've got a feeling Jack is trying a one-stop as well. I did speak with him yesterday, and after he obviously commentated on us on Tier 1, and I know he was definitely going, considering and potentially going for a one-stop race tonight. So be interested to see how that one sort of forms and plays out. Darrell has managed to get himself up into 11th place for now, as he's having a bit of a race with his teammate coming out of the pits, but Madman drops him behind, although I feel, Darrell's going to let him through. Good idea from the Haas team, especially with Madman on those medium compound tyres. He's going to be faster than Darrell at this stage of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, no, 100%. No point holding each other up, but close battle so far going on between the other side of the Mercedes and Alpine garage. That's between Hulkenberg and Iron, as Iron just sneaks within that 1 second gap. But we've seen both Mercedes having some amazing straight line speed performance over the Alpine. You could just see how much he's gaining. He's gaining so much It's not going to be enough into turn 1, but that pace of that Mercedes, I should say, is some serious straight line speed. As we see a yellow flag pop up and
I think that was
disappears.
Trist Games. I think he had a moment out of Bika Pato and also let a few drivers through. We've also got Matty Rudd, who has overtaken Berra into turn 1 with the help of DRS. So the Williams pairing here, it's very quietly got themselves into 6th and 7th, which right now is sort of like best of the rest. Although Jack is still yet to pit. And one thing that slightly annoys me at the moment with the graphics is there's a lot. Every time the drivers go over the curbs around Tessida de Lago, all this debris decides is going to kick up, even though it's really not what's needed. So for anyone who's worrying about sort of damage and parts coming off of cars, as Mikey, I think, trying to fend off Coke here, fails to do so. Coke gets through, but Coke on those fresher tyres, so sort of to be expected. But yeah, anyone who's worried about damage, as the Wolf picked up 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, getting the braking wrong. I don't know if the board is still there. If it's not, then it can be quite tricky to spot that limiter line, because there is also a line after that, which some people confuse as the limiter line is actually the one prior to it. The Wolf comes out and he's gonna clips the wall, I think, on the pit exit. So not ideal for him, but he comes out just behind Berra and Matty Rudd. And speaking
Matty Rudd's Berra going very close there. Oh, as the debris just sparks everywhere off the racing line again now. But here comes Berra. He's going to try and go around the outside. Oh, a little bit of contact from the wheels, but luckily nothing doing too much here. Now that puts the Wolf right on the back of the stake, but he's going to try and clear these cars as quick as he can here. But I was about to say, the Wolf clearly trying that one stopper, as you said, Jordan, going 16 laps on the mediums. Whereas J. Ray Bay has also made his pit stop. He's gone to the mediums, so surely as he gets through Jack, I think Jack's actually had a bit of a moment coming out of Junsao. But crucially, J. Ray Bay's gone 16 laps on the hard, so surely he's making another stop since he's now on the mediums.
Depends how the mediums are going to go with the lesser fuel. I mean, on the basis that the Wolf managed to make them go 16 laps, which is very, very impressive on full fuel at the start. As he gets past Berra, now he eyes up Matty Rudd down the Retta Aposta. You feel like this should be an inevitable move down towards Tessida de Lago, but Matty Rudd has some pretty good straight line speed in that Williams. He doesn't get a good run on the way out, and the Wolf takes his opportunity straight away, side by side up towards Ferragura. They're going to keep it side by side. Fantastic racing from these two. As Berra loses the rear end, goes across the grass. That's going to be a 3-second penalty, I think. Yes, it is. An insta-pen there, unfortunately, is a bit of a silly one because you've not gained any time. You've completely lost the rear and just recovering. But good stuff from the Wolf and Matty Rudd to go through Ferragura pretty much side by side. Unfortunately, Wolf just running out of room on the exit, as it's pretty much going to be normal around that corner.
Yeah, no, Berra just losing the rear, easy done, but here comes the Wolf.
Iron was within 2/10 then of Hulkenberger, and the Wolf does finally get past Matty Rudd. Matty Rudd does have a little glimpse in for the mirrors, but nothing more than that. Something we do have to mention though, Hulkenberger now 1.5 behind Jolie Anamanu and bringing Iron with him.
Yeah, no, that's important. That's very crucial for this stage of the race. But just to note, the only driver who's not made a pit stop so far in this race is Jack. So he is really trying to make the hards go as long as he can to make those mediums go easily to the end here. But now Hulkenberger is just going to have to try and get within that 1 second gap. He's got Iron though somewhat in it, around 9/10 is the gap between himself. He's just a bit ahead. Oh, the rear end sliding on Hulkenberger. I think he's
just about
within,
in
though.
Just about in.
He is, in fact. DRS opens, but that does put the likes of Iron a bit closer to hit. So this has gone back to as it was in the beginning, both Mercedes.
And look at the time J-Ray Bay's taken out of them as well. He's now only 3.5 behind Iron. That was around 5-6 seconds not too long ago. the Wolf gets past Jack, and I think it's going to be a teammate switch coming up for the Williams down the Retta Aposta. Jack, there's no point holding up Matty Rudd at this stage of the Grand Prix, especially on the basis he's on a completely different strategy right now.
Yeah, no, 100%, but I'm impressed. He's kept that for 19 laps so far in this race, so he's done very well to keep it on the track. We saw the tyres go off very early as there goes Matty Rudd. No point on fighting through there and let the team through.
J-Ray Bay 2.8 now behind Iron. He is coming, and he is coming fast.
Yeah, he's got some serious pace on those mediums, but the question is, all these runners ahead of him surely are going to make another stop, it seems. So the question is, does J-Ray Bay need to make another stop?
Iron has a big twitch through Magulio, and that's going to put him outside a second. And he's just about, I mean, it's really weird. Iron had a bad run through Magulio, but then Hulkenberger didn't quite get the right exit through Junsao, which has allowed Iron to stay in DRS mode. And that gap will close, and this is the only time pretty much that J-Ray Bay actually loses time is down the main straight, because he's not quite in DRS yet.
Yeah, not yet, but with this pace through all the other corners of the track.
And Jack finally decides he's had enough of those hard tyres. 20 laps he's done on those tyres, and he now thinks they've cried enough. He's got to do 16 on them, on the mediums, to go to the end of the race.
Yeah, no, he will have 16 lap mediums at the end, but he'll have a massive tyre offset to the rest of the field, which is critical for him to get through. But the gap really closing now, 6 tenths between Julian Manu and Hulkenberger. And as well, remember, Julian Manu has that 3-second penalty hanging over his head here, so he's in some tough territory here as he's got the Alpine, but you can see then Iron closes as well to the Alpine. And as I say that, look, J-Ray Bay coming into the 2.5s. So really good pace from the Alpines pushing the Mercedes. They're pushing each other along here.
Yeah, it's a big shame that Julian Amani, this is his last race, because you just see this being a season-long fight between these two teams. As again, J-Ray Bay loses a little bit of time, not quite in DRS. The top three close up. About 8 tenths of a second, 9 tenths of a second covers them as they go through the Senna S and down the Retta Aposta for the 22nd time. The question is really here is, we pretty much know the Wolf is probably going to go to the end of the race, but will J-Ray Bay, because at this point J-Ray Bay is going to have a whole pit stop in hand in terms of time over these leading runners. So if J-Ray Bay gets to the front of this, there's every chance that he could actually make a secondary pit stop for another set of medium tyres.
He could, but bear in mind the car ahead of him, who he'll surely like to get through, will have DRS. There's a little bit of grass taken, but you can just see now as well, Iron gets a much better drive on the Alpine of Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg actually is somewhat out of the DRS at this point in time, but will he be within at the detection point? It's mighty close, but I think he's actually out at this stage.
That's outside for Hulkenberg. He will not have DRS, and this is a big problem for the Alpine. Here comes the Mercedes. Julian Manu does come into the pits now, and
so does Hulkenberger. So they're covering Hulkenberger, covering off that threat from Iron, but now J-Ray Bay is on the back of Iron. He's well within 6 tenths here. I think he's a bit too far back to make any impression through here, but he's got so much more pace in these medium tyres, and understandably so. So I see this coming very quickly for J-Ray to get through this Mercedes car.
Yeah, you definitely feel like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
I think for the sake of J-Ray Bay, this needs to be done.
And interesting thoughts. Julian Manu, Hulkenberger, both on another set of hard tyres. Makes me wonder with J-Ray Bay, is he actually going to come in for another pit stop, get another set of fresh mediums, because the pace differential between the hard and the mediums is so great. If he can sort of come out with 5 seconds of a gap, I think he could actually close that down in the closing stages of the race. As in comes Iron, gifts a lovely clean run with DRS for J-Ray Bay, and now if J-Ray Bay thinks he might end up going in for another stop, he's got to put in some qualifying laps here.
He does, but he also needs to think about getting these set of mediums to the end here. He's already done 7 laps, and he will have another 13 to go, including
But
this. So
it's whether he decides to come in for another pit stop, because he and Hulkenberger will be saying to him that himself and Julian Emanuel are on another set of hard tyres. So if J-Ray Bay comes in for another set of mediums, that tyre delta is going to be quite large.
It will, it really will. The question is, what does J-Ray do here? He somewhat has to commit to one or the other, and he needs to commit now, because if he's going to the end on this medium, which will be very challenging, he needs to keep the tyre life as pristine as he can do, as a lapped car gets out of the way. He's got to make the decision now. We'll see what he does. He's only done 7 laps on those mediums, but we've seen them fade quite early on, around lap 9 or 10.
I think he'll want to do at least another sort of 3-4 laps on this set of mediums before he comes in to really be able to push a second set of mediums to the end.
Yeah, no, he definitely needs to somewhat put all the time on these tyres, as much as he's got left in them. But the thing is, we saw how powerful the undercut is, so he will have a massive tyre delta, yes, but the question is, will it be too much to somewhat challenge through, as Joey Anamanu gets ahead of Matty Rudd. No surprise there, 13 lap tyres versus a 1 lap full tyres. Now in the background though, Hulkenberger gets ahead of ahead of O'Steven, and Iron also gets through the stake, but there's a fight. In fact, actually Hulkenberger has made a move on Iron. I think we missed that, but one Alpine getting ahead of the Mercedes so far.
Absolutely is Darrell. We've got 3 wide coming down to turn 1 between Line of Greasby, It's the Cat, Darrell and Berra. Oh, bit of a slide for It's the Cat. Just about holds it through this middle part of the centre S. Good save by the Aston Martin, the reserve driver for the night, as they come through into the Cida del Lago. And Berra in 11th, JMB in 10th. Ruddo saying Matty needs to be careful of a Sauber undercut. Meanwhile, he thinks J-Ray Bates needs to pit again. Well, and speaking of J-Ray Bates, here he comes.
Surely we'll see a set of mediums come on here. This is his main chance to try.
Anthony Hunt is out in the pit lane. That's a big shame for Anthony.
Anthony thought she's going to retire here. I think that's a set of hards, is it? I see a white striped
It
tyre.
is.
I think that is. It is. So, unless obviously this is all in the tyre allocations, but J-Ray Bay, either he's not having another set of mediums, or he wants to play it safe, as DJ Merman gets a 10-second penalty speeding in the pit lane. He comes out in P6. Now, the only car really will be Matty Rudd, and I'm sure Matty Rudd will probably have to make a stop sometime soon, but I'm assuming J-Ray Bay will be on the back of that Williams before he makes it, because the pace difference will be quite substantial.
Yeah, I suspect Matty Rudd will also come into the pits this lap, because, just like Ruddo's said, he's got to be careful of the undercut from O'Steven. O'Steven has come in the pits and fitted medium tyres to his Sauber. Obviously, he had no choice because he ran 2 sets of hards so far in this race. So I suspect Matty Rudd will want to come in and cover that for the remainder of the race. Ira passed It's the Cats in the pits. Yeah, so Julian Amani, 2.4 seconds to Hulkenberger, who has 0.4 of a second to Iron. And speaking of these two, here comes Iron to the inside, up towards the centre S. DRS assisted down the inside, but Hulkenberger keeps it around the outside, keeps the inside for the middle part. Can Iron keep it? No, he can't. Hulkenberger just about fends off the attack, but he's going to have to fend off another one here, as a Ferrari comes out of the pits, down the inside, into the Cida del Lago. The Mercedes has the place, has the position, and it's a net 1, well, I say net 1-2, we think the Wolf's going to the end. So it's 2 and 3 here for the Mercedes, but one thing is the Wolf does have 10 seconds of penalties for speeding in the pit lane, as Berra gets past Jack. I'm not sure, Jack has actually been, no, he hasn't come in the pits again. But I do wonder with Jack if this is going to be a wise strategy in the Williams, or whether those mediums are going to burn out right near the end of this race.
Yeah, no, it'll certainly be tight on those medium tyres, but he will have an amazing tyre offset in this stage, as Hulkenberger just stays within that DRS range of Iron. We could see some tactical decisions from the Mercedes partner. Iron does know that Joey Anamanu is carrying that 3 seconds of penalties. He's closing into the Wolf, so at the moment, as you said, this is somewhat of a net 1-2. That's if Julian and Iron get through ahead of the Wolf, if he is to stay out. But with the tyre offset, surely it should be fairly simple for the two of them. But if Iron and Hulkenberger start squabbling over this position here, it could help Julian and Manu clear that 3 seconds of penalties.
Yeah, I think the other problem you're going to have though with that is with Julian and Manu, this being the final race, and as Rodo did point out, Matty Rudd has been done by the undercut of O'Stephen. Matty Rudd taking an extra couple of laps, but that could come to help him come the end of this race with a bit of extra pace. But yeah, with Julian and Manu being the final race for the season for him, it makes you wonder if in reality Julian and Manu now needs to prioritise sort of Iron's points here to give him the boost up in the drivers.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying, of course, because these points are so important. But the thing is now, Iron, he's got soon to beat 2 Alpines on the back. Because you imagine J-Ray Bay with his freshest tyres of the bunch, he's going to be closing up quickly as Hulkenberger is still on the rear of Iron. But this is a tough one for Iron, but I think his pure priority here is to keep that Alpine behind, because this is for position as Hulkenberger is looking for the inside line. He's going to go into turn 4, bit of contact there. Luckily nothing has hurt too much. There's a Ferrari in the background. I think that's just a lapped car. He's trying to get through, but Hulkenberger has to back out as Iron claims the inside line through there. Iron holding his ground from Hulkenberger, and this is really putting J-Ray on the back of this fight now.
It is absolutely, as though Stephen gets past Clips through to see Delago. I do wonder with Hulkenberg whether he did just let off a little bit going up towards Ferradura, because there was contact in the move, and the stewards have really set a precedent this season that you can't be sort of unless it's sort of racing contact, sort of a late move or a move where you end up going into the side of someone. You shouldn't really be keeping the place. That has been a precedent set by the stewards this season, as Hulkenberger coming up towards the NS can't find the pace or the space. And will J-Ray Bay now start to take precedence in that Alpine camp? 3-lap fresher tyres. You kind of feel like J-Ray Bay's got that sort of pace, but here comes Hulkenberger once again to the outside to see Delago. Probably the more preferred line, and he does finally get past that Mercedes. There's one thing with Interlagos, you tend to find overtaking around the outside easier, which is unusual.
Yeah, no, clearly more confidence going around the outside as Matty Rudd picks up a 3-second penalties here. The important thing here is the DRS we've seen is so powerful, so it's so difficult to keep the driver behind when they're in your DRS range. Now Hulkenberger is the car ahead, so the question is, we've seen the Mercedes have great straight line speed. Will it be enough for Hulkenberger to stay ahead? And it's going to somewhat interrupt their strategy here, Alpine. If they wanted to do that switch because of the fresher tyres, they somewhat have a problem because they've got that Mercedes sandwiched in the middle.
Yeah. The question is, J-Ray Bay obviously has those slightly fresher tyres. The question is, how much can he use them? As Iron looks to the inside, sends it to the inside. Hulkenberger does give it a bit of space, but Iron sort of semi-backs out of that one, knowing that he wasn't really anywhere close to sort of make that move. This is all playing into the hands of Jolyon and Manu. Up front, 5.1 the gap now between Jolyon and Manu and Hulkenberger. Obviously the Wolf, it's kind of sad to say, but we kind of almost have to discount the Wolf as Matty Rudd gets past O'Stephen, but he now needs to pull 6 seconds to avoid losing that place due to penalties. But yeah, unfortunately we kind of have to discount the Wolf a little bit because he's got that 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, no, it is a shame, because if he did not have that, as Jack picks up a 3-second penalty, if the Wolf did not have that 10-second, he would be well in contention for this race. He's the only one, I think, of the front that tried the one stopper.
Yeah, Jack's the only other one.
Yeah, so the thing is as well, Julian Manu has that 3-second penalty, so it would have been mighty close, because the gap's not necessarily closed out that much between Julian Manu and the Wolf, but up behind them, Hulkenberger is going to get overtaken here by Iron, and he makes that move very simply done. What about J-Ray Bay? J-Ray Bay thought about having it. In fact, Hulkenberger thinks about having a move on Iron. Little bit of contact there through the centre S as and Iron gets a much better exit. That puts J-Ray Bay right on the back of his teammate. I figure the move's going to come here between the Alpines. Are they going to switch? They will. And that is done. Oh, and actually, as I say that, Hulkenberger actually fights that one back. So Hulkenberger stays ahead of J-Ray Bay.
You've got to be careful, the Alpines. If they fight too much, they're going to lose DRS to Iron, and that will not be a good move for them. I'm surprised Hulkenberger really fought his teammate that hard, especially with his teammate on the fresher rubber. Maybe could have opened the door for Hulkenberger. But we'll see how that strategy plays out. Jolly and Amani now 1.6 behind the Wolf. But one thing to say, especially for the Wolf here, he's not far away from keeping this a second place here, with these lot fighting every single lap.
Yeah, no, 100%, but you can see Hulkenberger has so much more downforce because he's braking so much later than the cars around him. But he does have the DRS, importantly, on Iron. But I think that's not enough, actually, because here comes Hulkenberger. Hulkenberger gets through in the head. Sorry, J-Ray Bay gets through ahead on Hulkenberger, and that is done nicely.
I feel like that was a planned move from Alpine.
I think so too, because actually I don't think I saw Hulkenberger enable his DRS. As here comes J-Ray Bay now on Iron. Iron definitely doesn't have DRS, no car in front of him. So this is going to get tricky between Iron here, because he knows the car behind him is on much fresher tyres. And I think just on pure pace, he's got more for J-Ray Bay.
The gap between the Wolf and Iron, 7.9, now 8.1 seconds. This is going to be tight for the Wolf as Jack gets overtaken by O'Steven. I feel like those mediums of Jack starting to cry as he continues to lose time on them. And he's going to have Clips Kiri all over him as they come into Ferrajora and up the hill into Larinia. I think Triscame's just getting out of the way. But back here at this fight for third place, J-Ray Bay just 3/10 behind the Mercedes. The question is, does he have enough straight line speed to contest that car? The answer is going to be yes. He's going to go down the inside. And Iron will have to concede that position. But if he gets a good enough run out of the second part of the Senna S, he may well have a go down into Desida de Lago. Not quite close enough, even with DRS. Lap 34 we are on. Just 3 laps remaining in the Brazilian Grand Prix.
While this is all going on, Julian Emmanuel has crept into that 1 second just of the Wolf. The Wolf's been doing a stellar job despite those much older tyres. He's somewhat kept the pace up front very, very well, but I figure Julian Emmanuel should have the DRS well enough for him to get past. But J-Ray Bay now, you can see the delta now between J-Ray Bay and Iron. He's somewhat pulling ahead now, so I think J-Ray Bay's target now is Julian Emmanuel and critically getting within that 3 seconds.
Yes, Iron just about stays in. Oh, did he actually stay in DRS? I think that was quite close on the detection.
He didn't.
No, he didn't. But then saying that Hulkenberger did, and you're closing a little bit. I think the key question really here is the Wolf. I mean, if the Wolf allows Jolyon Emmanuel past, especially for the last lap, he could find himself with a bit of DRS to help him try and secure a podium position, because he's got, I mean, what's that? 8.5 seconds over Iron right now?
7.6, actually yes, 8.5, yeah, so 7.6 to J-Ray and 8.5 to Iron. So yeah, that could be a strategic call, just to maybe even let him through at the earliest convenience and just stay with him through the slipstream and DRS. So, but it looks like that move is coming soon enough. Gap just around 6.5, 7 tenths between the two front runners.
JMB Surreal almost looking down the inside of Darrell, but instead Lionel Griesby's going to have a little look through the outside of the Senna S. Couldn't quite find the gap. This all over 13th place and the first position without any points. Although Darrell does have a 16-second penalty, so it's all going to be pretty null and void.
Here comes Julian Emmanuel. Sorry to cut in there, John. Julian Emmanuel now reclaims the lead of the race as the rear slides, though, on the Mercedes. He won't get DRS, but I don't think the Wolf is going to fight this one too harshly here. He does have a McLaren, but that is a back runner right behind him, and actually he closes up a lot, does the Wolf. He's going to try and almost go side by side. A little bit of contact on the tyre there, but Julian Emmanuel looks to be ahead now as there's a McLaren pushing the Wolf along. I think that must be Ira. It must be because yes, Anthony Hunt out, but Ira pushing along the Wolf there. So dangerous through there as you ride up the hill. But crucially, the gap between J-Ray Bay and Julian Manu, 5.5 seconds. I think at this point Julian Manu has covered off everything so far, as long as he still has a 3-second time penalty, which he does have, as he comes into the final corner.
Coke has spun at the centre S, so he's lost a lot of time, and that's going to allow, I think, Lionel Griesby in with a shout. But we go back to Johnny Anamanu. It might be his final race of the season, but he's going to end it on a fantastic high. Julian Manu wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, currently from the Wolf in second, but it's going to be J-Ray Bay who takes second. Iron will clinch the podium, so it's a double podium for Mercedes, and it is a checkerboard finish as Hulkenberger gets fourth. The Wolf will take fifth in the end after the crucial mistake in the pits. Berra comes home for sixth. Matty Rudd is just about going to hold on for seventh place here, even with a 6-second penalty. Seventh for the Williams driver. O'Stephen will cross the line in 8th place. Klipskiri just behind him in 9th. It's going to be Jack in 10th. Madman currently 11th, but the question is, will he keep that with Coke behind? I think he will. Lionel Griesby, unfortunately, not quite close enough by the looks of it for Coke to claim a point, so he's going to finish just outside the points in 13th is Lionel Griesby. JMB Surreal in 14th, Darrell 15th, make that 16th as the cat takes that one. Tris Gaines comes home in the final classified position of 19th, so good time for Trist on the game, more laps in the bank as he gets used to this game.
Yeah, no, it'll come with time for Tris, so no, it's good to get to the end of the race. But this man is your race winner, Julian Manu. He did everything he needed to do somewhat, taking the earliest stops, and that undercut serving to an advantage. But if this is the last time we see Julian Manu, he's definitely ended it on a high, and we hope not. But most importantly, good luck to the future for Julian Manu, and I'm sure he's going to be happy to end it on a high. But yeah, no, great stuff from the Mercedes pairs as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and let's hope this constructors fight will carry on, because it's fantastic to see the Mercedes and the Alpines really fighting it out for this championship. But your provisional results, though, for the Brazilian Grand Prix: Julian Manu does take the win from J-Ray Bay. I run in third. Hulkenberger at fourth. The Wolf fifth. Berra sixth. Matty Rudd seventh. O'Stephen eighth. Klipskiri ninth. Jack in 10th. Madman 11th. Good points for him in the Haas. Coke finishes off the points paying positions in 12th. Lionel Griesby 13th. JMB Surreal 14th. It's the Cat 15th. Darrell 16th. Ira 17th. Mikey 18th. Tris Gaines 19th, and Anthony Hunt, the only person to retire from this race. Fastest lap goes to J-Ray Bay.
Yeah, well, an enjoyable race that was. Luckily, no safety cars or VSCs, so just pure racing. But yeah, no, what a race! So much going on. Really got tight as well between the likes of the Wolf. Wolf really did an amazing job in that final stint. If he didn't have that 10-second of penalties, that could have really been a result for him. Bear in mind as well, if that 10-sec was not there, could have fight for the win there between Julian and Manu as well.
I think it would have been, yeah.
So yeah, no, it's just such an effect. But it's good to see the Wolf having that pace, because the last few races he somewhat dropped a bit after his win in Mexico. But no, we've somewhat completed one half of the season, Jordan. So. Well, bring on the second half, I say. But yeah. Before then, we'll have that 1 week break.
Yeah, absolutely. So that somehow is a definite. We've gone halfway through. Ruddo, you know, he's making his train journey home enjoyable. Very, very good to hear. Jack, 3 races in a row where he's had wing damage early on, so he's not having the best luck. But the pace is there for Jack. We can see that pace is there. Just needs that one race where he doesn't pick up the damage. And Spud saying good points for Austin, which I believe is the Wolf, who is his teammate. But as you already say, Aaron, we are halfway through the season, so next week we do not have any action. No action next week because it is break week for the drivers. It's like a mini summer break. I'll tell you what, the weather for it is absolutely bang right at the moment for a summer break. Let me just bring up the calendar. So, obviously, we have a week's break now, but we return in 2 weeks' time for the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park. And what makes it even more exciting at IRL is it's a sprint evening.
Absolutely. Second sprint of the season, and in theory, technically, more points in the second half because, of course, we have 2 sprint race weekends to go. The second one being in Montreal. So, yeah, no, technically, more points up for grabs, and what a way to start the second half going into a sprint race.
Yeah, absolutely. So a one-shot qualifying to really mix up the grid for both the sprint and the feature could produce some surprise results. You just never know. And with Melbourne's 4 DRS zones, overtaking is going to be very, very high on the agenda.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it'll also bring a few issues of DRS trains. We've seen that in the past as well. DRS trains forming very easily. Yeah, no, Australia fast circuit, be a good one to watch, I'm sure. But did want to mention as well, during the race, good result from I think it went unnoticed quite through that, but DJ Madman getting into the points for the Haas, so good result for him. But I think, yeah, no, I think that's all we can say. But I just want to say final words. Thank you to Julian and Manu for all the amazing action we've seen this season. It's been a pleasure commentating on his driving, and yeah, all the best of luck in the future. And we hope to see you soon, one day, back in Invictus Racing League.
Absolutely, I think everyone echoes those words. Spud saying he's back next week. The wrong week to come back, Spud. It's a break week. It's a break week next week, so do you stay on holiday for another week, unless you want a week's worth of practice for Melbourne. Maybe not a bad idea. But yes, as I say, 2 weeks' time we are back in Invictus Racing League. The 25th, I think, is the date for Tier 1, if I just double check my calendar. Yes, Monday the 25th, in Season 21 returns for Tier 1 action around Melbourne. That's brought to you by Jack and Mikey. Myself and ARL will be back on the 26th for Tier 2 as we start the second half of the season, where Championship starts to shape up and everything gets tighter and the pressure gets, well, a lot more than what most of the drivers would like it to be. But for myself and ARL, thank you for watching tonight. If you've enjoyed the stream, please don't forget to give it a like. Also, subscribe to the Invictus Racing League channel and put the notifications on so you don't miss any of the live streams. Remember, all races in Season 21 for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 live streamed and commentated on this season, so it's just fantastic to see. So you get to see how all parts of the championship unfold. Yes, bud, see you in 2 weeks. But yeah, live racing all the way through this season, so don't forget to turn the notifications on so you don't miss it. But from us, thank you for watching. We hope you have a good week's break next week, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time when we head down under to start the second half of Season 21.